What's up, my friends? It's Laura. Welcome back to Well, Well, Well. It's my favorite when I come across women who just love to talk about the money side of the wellness industry. And Lauren was someone I clicked with immediately. Not only do we share the same half woo-woo, half super grounded business mind, but we both live in North County, San Diego, and actually get to hang out in person most of the time. Kind of a treat these days. Lauren started off at PwC, landed into a director of finance role at Equinox, and is now the CEO of Active Core Consulting, a strategy firm that works across finance and ops for fitness and wellness studios. Join us today as we dive into the keys to financial success in our wild world of wellness. Hey, Lauren. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here. It feels like we're just meeting up for coffee back in San Diego.
I know. I love it. Honestly, it's so funny. I was thinking about it. We probably should have done this in person, but now you're going to be maybe moving to LA. So darn it. We
Yeah.
can't have our coffee walk-in talks anymore. Well, excited to dive into this kind of topic of finance and, try to make this a little more fun and not just talk numbers, because I think there is such an opportunity in our industry, particularly in boutique fitness, where, traditionally there have been a lot of metrics thrown around, a lot of structures that are like you should run your business this way. And if you do, you'll be successful. But the fact of the matter right now is that most businesses in our little niche of the industry are not really sustainably profitable. And there are a lot of struggling business owners that I talk to on a regular basis that, are just they're feeling lost. They're feeling kind of helpless, or, they've had advice from different people at different points in time, and none of it has really stuck. So whenever we've discussed, these topics, I've always appreciated the lens that you look at it through and the way you're able to just take it down to earth for everyone. And there's no shame in feeling the amount of struggle that a lot of business owners do around the finance. But before we dive into that, I'd love to talk about your story in this wonderful world of wellness. How did you land here? Kind of what shaped your journey to get you where you are today?
Yeah, I love that question. I was an athlete my entire life, ran around California every single weekend for soccer tournaments. I played volleyball, like sports and being an athlete was my identity my entire childhood. And then after I graduated college, I had to obviously get a job. And so I've always been very math focused. So I was like, oh, business sounds like the natural progression. So I spent about 5 years really hustling at a big consulting firm, moved to New York, did the whole startup world in New York, and I was really burnt out. I was trying to figure out what would make me happy again. And I just remembered what made you happy before. And it was fitness, community, working out, being on a team. And so I was really trying to foster that energy for myself again. But I'm 5 years into this finance career. So how do I blend this super finance nerd part of me with this athletic, fun community fitness? And I was like, oh, I should just go work in fitness. So I got a job at Equinox and spent 8 years at Equinox growing their portfolio. I think they were at around 80 clubs when I started and 105 clubs when I left. I helped out with a ton of new ventures, helped them open new studios. We did some retreats. I did the whole Hudson Yards expansion, the whole Equinox Hotel idea, and just worked on a lot of really fun new business ideas. And it really got me thinking when the pandemic happened and our industry shut down, it's like, oh, I'm sitting in these Zoom rooms with all of these execs at Equinox on the finance department, and they're all trying to figure out cash flow and how to preserve the business. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if these really intelligent humans are struggling, how are our small business fitness communities doing? So that's like when the ping came to mind. I was bored in my New York City apartment because we weren't allowed to go outside, and telling a California girl she can't go outside is not a good recipe.
Oh, God.
So
I felt so bad for everyone there.
Oh, it was so awful. So I just did what I could do. And at the time I was a cycling instructor at a local studio in Brooklyn. And so I reached out to her and helped her pivot her business with cash flow and how to understand when to open at what capacity levels. And she found that to be so valuable. She got her MBA from Wharton. So I was like, wow, if this woman needs my help, then everybody needs help.
Yes.
So that's how Active Core started about, over 5 years ago, which is crazy. The tactics that I learned through working at WeWork and the big consulting company and Equinox and opening up new
Great.
studios and new business ventures, I really realized that these are skill sets that the normal person probably does not know. And we
Yeah.
don't have to make it overly complicated. How can we support these small business owners so they can open their own dream of building their own community? So
Yeah.
I view our work as the more studios we can become profitable, the more families can live a happy, healthy life. And then the bigger impact we'll have on all of the communities and then the members and how they impact their own families. It's just like beautiful web of
Yeah.
impact that comes from the top down when your business is profitable.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I loved about meeting you and connecting with you is that I kind of laughed. I was like, I just remember coming home to my husband and saying, "Oh my God, I met somebody else who's like half woo-woo, like totally sees the energy side of things and the human side of things, but also super grounded and rooted in this, the business minded. How can we help businesses because the impact is so huge when they're
Yeah.
successful?" And I mean, I'm not the finance girl, so that's why I'm glad your brain
I
exists.
got you, girl.
Yes, I am much more like sales and operations, but oh my gosh, it's so needed in this industry. So most of your clients are boutique fitness. Is that kind of your niche particularly?
Exactly. Yep. So boutique fitness, anybody who's on the Walla system can be a
Yay.
client of ours.
Yeah.
Our sweet spot is between that 1 to 4 to 5 studios is where we
Okay.
like to acquire clients. And then the beauty about working with us and our team, there's 9 of us on the team now, which is so
Wow.
exciting. All of us come from the fitness industry. So we've all opened new studios. We've seen what it takes to scale businesses from Equinox, Soul Cycle, Barry's Bootcamp, Orange Theory Fitness, all the big names. We've done it all in these businesses, and we want to bring that knowledge into the small
Yeah.
business world. Like what we love to do is help clients grow into a bigger portfolio. To do that is all the same thing. How can we get your systems and your foundation set at your existing 1 or 2 studios so that is running in a smooth way, and then we can just rinse and repeat or copy and paste for all my Excel
Hmm.
nerds
Yeah.
into creating more sustainable business for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Well, so like you said, a lot of the folks in our industry probably didn't start with a business background, a finance background. How do you find most of the clients or the business owners you work with just think about the money side of the business? Is it pretty similar across the board? Is it really varied?
Yeah, great question. It really just depends where the owner has come from. So, a
Hmm.
lot of people that we work with have had some corporate background, some corporate exposure, and they understand that it's important, but they probably weren't in finance. So,
Hmm.
they understand the importance of outsourcing finance
Yeah.
to somebody or just in general outsourcing whatever they're not an expert in, whatever is not their zone of genius. How can you find experts who have done it before so we can accelerate the process? And rather than owners throwing spaghetti out the wall and seeing what
Hmm.
sticks, we give them proven tactics and strategies that we have seen work in the industry. So everything can just go a little bit faster.
Nice.
But money is really hard. Like even like I haven't been in finance my whole career and even managing the finances in my business and my life sometimes can get overwhelming. We really try and bring the energy that there's no shame. Everybody is where there is and that's exactly okay.
Yeah.
The biggest win is just acknowledging that this is an area that you need support and then finding the right team to help educate you in what you need to know about
Yeah.
finances. There's so many things under the sun. So, like,
Right.
what are the basics? What are the foundational things that you need to know about your numbers to help set your business up for success? And like
Yeah.
my favorite part about this is all of these things, most CEOs or all CEOs do not need to be doing any of this work. The
Mm,
beauty of being in your CEO power is recognizing I need this and then I need to find the best person to execute this task for me
right.
and my business. And that's where we come in. We take off all the finances off your plate. So every month you're getting a deliverable of your P&L and L and your cash flow with very specific recommendations so you can know what to focus on in your business.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, we'll dig deeper into that kind of CEO power
Yeah,
concept because I think there's an identity there that so many business owners in our industry have never considered themselves as. They see
totally.
themselves as like, the head of programming or the best teacher or, kind of the community leader maybe, but not necessarily that CEO role. But funny enough, I was talking to a friend recently and he has owned a business for quite some time. And he essentially said, God, I feel for business owners starting now because there's so much more to spend money on today than there was
Yes.
even 10 years ago. So he said, when I look at our expenses as a business, I'm seeing it through a lens of, I started a business 25 years ago and I had very specific categories and everything was dialed in. But now there are just, whether it's software, like obviously there are a million different software platforms that you could be using for every different niche of your business. There's AI, I mean, products that can help your team. But yeah, just the expenses can be endless. And I imagine when you're
Yes.
starting to get into these conversations with business owners, it can probably be overwhelming for them to actually like be honest and look at their expenses as a business.
It really is. It's definitely a hard thing to do. And one of the first things we do with clients is help them understand, okay, based on where you're at with how much revenue you're bringing in, where are your expenses landing versus industry standards for the level that you are in your business. So we help them
Uh,
look at all of their expenses as a percentage of revenue, and we benchmark that towards industry standards so we can understand, okay, are you spending 50% of your revenue on payroll? Okay, if that's
mm,
so, that's not a problem. It's just like an
hmm.
opportunity area for us to dial it in so we can get
Yeah.
your payroll closer to that 20 to 30%.
Oh,
Marketing
wow.
is another big one. A lot of times we'll see owners only spending maybe like 2 or 3% of revenue on marketing, which is great. Now we have an opportunity area to like strategically
Yes.
spend a little bit more money so we can get you closer to that 5 to 10%.
Yep.
Alternatively, if we see owners spending 10, 15% of their revenue on marketing, then we get a dive into, okay, what are you actually spending your money on? What is the ROI that you're getting from it? And is
Hmm.
the ROI worth what you're spending?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so helpful. I think it's easy to be sold into you need everything and
Yeah,
then you end up just living outside of your means as a business and that affects what you pay yourself, what you can do to build your communities.
yeah.
Um I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this because I will say, I don't know if it's the consulting landscape that's done this, if it's really just, I mean, flat out, there are MindBodies, the software that kind of started this industry, and it has, 1 million reports. I know all we're guilty of having tons and tons of reports, but reporting and metrics and analytics in our industry, I feel like has just gotten crazy where every day
Totally.
I hear something like, God, if we just had this report, if we just had this number, I think we would be profitable or that would solve our problems. Like
Mhm.
we're missing this number and that's the reason I'm not making any money. And it just feels like, okay, really, we're just deflecting from some bigger foundational problems in a lot of businesses. So, what are the main numbers you look at? And what advice would you give studio owners who are just drowning in reports right now and not really moving the needle?
Great question. I would say stop. Stop drowning in reports. Just like get away from them and stop looking at them for a second and reground yourself. And what do I need to focus on to move the needle in my business? And
Mm,
we have 7 metrics, call them like the lucky 7 or core metrics that we look at. And I know Walla is so fantastic with metric reporting.
hmm.
And so you can literally just put this in an Excel spreadsheet. You don't need to like run all these reports. Just focus on these
Hmm.
7 metrics. And what those are first timers. We need to know how
Yeah.
many people are coming into your business. Intro offers. How many of those people are buying intro offers
Right.
as that first step in your business? Or are they buying a drop in? Or are they coming in on a guest pass or an event so you
Right.
can know how to convert them into intro offers? And then new members. How many new members are you getting per month? And with those 3, we can look at the conversion percentages and really understand where in your sales process could use a little extra TLC and support so we can make these numbers higher. And then we have
Okay.
member count. We want to know how many members are in your studio, your MRR forecast, which is your monthly recurring revenue. Your membership revenue is the lifeline of your business. It is
Yeah.
our favorite number to track. Of course, all of our customers who are on class packs or buy drop ins are just as important to the business. But when we talk about what numbers are going to give you that financial clarity and that ease so you can start making strategic, bold decisions, having your monthly revenue from your
Hmm.
memberships being able to cover all of your cash flow needs will give you that. Because when you
Yeah.
have that as your base, everything else, every other revenue stream is just your extra profit. Your
Right.
retail is your extra profit. Maybe your retail is your vacation fund, and your class
Yeah.
packs we're parsing out to investing in location number 2, 3, or 4. And so when we start to compartmentalize our revenue streams to what we want them to do, it gives us a lot more intentionality and purpose
Right.
behind.
Yeah, God, think about how much more motivated you are to sell some retail if you know that's your vacation. Like, if
Yes,
you can just feel
exactly.
confident in the basics. It's
Yeah.
interesting. We often I am in sales, right? Like that is a big part of my job. And one of the questions we ask people oftentimes is, can you predict your cash flow 6 months from now? Do you know what your business looks like next quarter? And
Hmm.
so often they're just like, wait, what? No, like I know maybe my utilization rate on this class because that's what
Yeah.
somebody told me I need to be on top of. But they have no idea if they're going to be able to, give their top two teachers a raise and pay themselves fully 3 months from now or 4 months from now.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I love that you've got that heavy focus on MRR and understanding that from a cash flow perspective.
Yeah, and when you are an active core client, a part of the big thing we do in your onboarding process is creating those business projections for you. So you
I
can
love
look
it.
out 6 months from now and be like, "Okay, I'm projected to bring in an extra $10,000 of positive cash flow." So like I know I can make a decision today to invest in my business because my 6-month run rate is in
Oh, I love
a
that.
good place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
so
just to
great.
bring this all together in case somebody wants the 7 metrics so they can write them down, I just want to make it very easy and clear for y'all. So, first timers, intro offers, number of new members, member count, MRR forecast, churn, and utilization. Those are like the lucky
Perfect.
seven that we want you all to focus on. Please don't focus on anything else. Those are the basics that
Yeah.
you need to understand. Once you are in a good place of looking at those on a weekly basis and those are dialed in, then you can get fancy with all the other reporting. Spend your time more mindfully and focus on
Hmm.
these 7 metrics because these 7 metrics are the foundation and the backbone of your business. And if one of these are not performing correctly, running a different report is not going to make them perform better. You actually have to make
Right.
strategic changes and pivots in your business. You probably have to have some pretty hard conversations with yourself to make sure,
Hmm.
like, am I having the right team in place? Do
Right.
I have the right schedule? Do I have the right instructors at the right time? And those are
Yeah.
really hard decisions to make.
Yeah.
But that is what being a CEO of your business is. It's making the right decisions for your business, not necessarily putting Ashley in the Friday
Yeah.
10 a.m. spot because that's her favorite time, or
Yeah.
she doesn't like to work at 7 a.m. So we're not going to put her at 7 a.m. But if
Right.
the business needs her at 7 a.m. because the data supports it, and that's a
Yeah.
conversation we need to have.
Right. Right. I love that just because I think there is a tremendous amount of overwhelm and it causes this freeze mentality where they're just
Yes.
scared to dive in because there's so much to look at I think I personally believe it makes people feel like they're failing when they
Yeah.
either feel like I'm dumb, I don't get this. Like what should I be doing with all these numbers or like what is the right thing I should be shooting for? So when you see people frozen, I know that's what some of your programs work towards is helping people
Yeah.
in that state. But what's your reaction with that state of being, that freeze?
At the basic level, it's nervous system dysregulation, right? When we're
Hmm.
in a state of freeze, our body tenses and we sometimes get brain fog and we can't make a clear decision. So knowing what that right decision is not going to be found when you're in a freeze or a dysregulated energy state. So we need to get you out of that and into more of a flow state. I know we talk
Mm,
about flow state a ton in terms of our instructors and making sure our
yeah.
instructors are in a flow state so they can deliver the best class experience possible. But that's also super important for you as the CEO. You need to be in a flow state so you can make very clear, correct decisions for your
Yeah.
business. You can lead your team from a calm energy and it's all tone at the top. If you're going to lead from that place, then your managers are going to also lead from that place. And it's going to
Hmm.
trickle down into your instructors and into the people that you bring in your team. So Really
I
like
love that.
dialing in the flow state is something that's so important to this work of stepping into your CEO. And it's the cornerstone and why we start our work in our group coaching program, Finance and Flow. Like this is the flow
Hmm.
in Finance
Yeah.
and Flow. We bring in my nervous system coach, the woman that I've been working with for the past 2+ years on my mindset, my limiting beliefs. I have a ton of money limiting beliefs
Yeah.
thinking, I mean, going back to when I was younger with like money issues with my family, it was like, oh, well, if I just work
Hmm.
in finance, then I'll make money and everything will be okay.
All
But
my
it's like,
issues
oh
go
my,
away.
all my issues go away. It's just like this magic thing. But shocker, or not shocker, that's definitely not not the case. So really working on where did your money stories come from? Where did
Hmm.
you pick up things from your caregivers or your childhood or your societal beliefs? And all of those things are really important to have a baseline understanding. So when things come up in your business and you feel that stuckness, you can identify that, like, that's not my authentic self. That was a
Yeah.
learned behavior from my parents or
Right.
from my grandparents or whoever.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think because these businesses are such visible businesses, right? Like you have a lot of people in a community coming in your door and you've got a lot of teachers, like there are just layers of humans that you're interacting with and most businesses are very, very present on social media. And so I find oftentimes that there are studio owners that feel like they have to kind of put on a show of how quote successful their business is.
Yeah.
And it becomes kind of like this lie you have to tell yourself over and over and over again when in
Hmm.
reality maybe you haven't paid yourself for 2 months. So
Yeah.
I think what you're saying, just getting into like a very honest place with yourself and then finding a way to get into a regulated nervous system and start making decisions from there instead of like the persona that you put on for the world. And that to me is a big part of the CEO role. Like you've got to be honest with yourself. Okay, so what we're seeing, what we're hearing, I should say, not seeing, is that the boutique fitness in particular landscape is getting very crowded right now. That it is everybody sees this opportunity, whether it's Legree, Pilates, some
Hmm.
strength, this like quote license to print money, and then they get into the doors of these businesses and realize it is a very hard business to have as mailbox
Yeah.
money. Like you've got to be in there
Yeah.
working.
Yes. Yeah.
When you think about what you see successful studios doing today to really stand out in, maybe a pretty crowded landscape or just making business decisions that help them get out of that mindset of, oh, there's so much competition. Talk to us about that.
I'm going to make a pretty bold statement here. Maybe you want a mic drop moment, if you will. In my opinion, it does not matter what your format is. It does not matter what modality that the studio is. What matters in terms of is your studio going to be successful is what is the leadership quality of the owner? Is the owner able to step out of the operator seat into that CEO seat?
Yeah.
And what does it even mean to step into your CEO seat? I feel like a lot of owners in our industry don't even consider themselves as CEOs. And maybe
Right.
we can spend some time talking about what does it mean to be in your CEO power?
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I'd love to hear a story or two from you of people you've
Yeah.
seen make that transition. Because I will say, just watching a couple of our clients go from, I think of, I don't know, one in particular, a friend of mine, Bridget. Bridget, hi, I'm talking about you. Um,
Hey, Bridget.
she, yeah, she owns a yoga studio and she went from like, a small studio that she was doing everything, literally everything from mopping the floors to working the front desk, teaching, 15 classes a day on top of her other teachers to really embracing the leader she is and that she's a very different leader than what we see out there, in the media as what leadership looks like. And I think that that's the powerful thing is when you've got somebody giving you permission to be your flavor of leader. And you're going to find the
Mhm.
people that want to work for you and that are attracted to you as that type of leader, that type of CEO. But she now lives in Europe. Her studio's in San Diego, and she's able to run the
Amazing.
business as a CEO from there. And it's doing better than it ever has. Like it's a pretty amazing thing to watch a human go from a transactional doer to believing in themselves as a strategic visionary and leader. And I know so many of the people in this industry are capable of that.
I love that story so much. And what an expander Bridget is for
Hmm.
everybody that's listening to this
Yeah.
podcast. Like it can happen and it will happen for you if you're able to step into your CEO. So for us at Active Core, being in your CEO is a combination of the flow energy that we were just talking about. So a
Hmm.
definition that we came up with for our group coaching program from Amy, the guest coach that will help us get into our flow state. CEO energy is empowered, clear, with boundaries, the ability to see the higher perspective in your business without limiting beliefs and stories that keep you stuck.
I love that. The stories that keep you stuck. Yes, exactly. How many
Yeah.
times we just revert back to what feels comfortable and what we've always told ourselves.
Yep.
Good
Kind of
job,
like,
Amy.
oh, I just need one more report to be profitable. It's like, no, you don't. That's just a story that's keeping you stuck. What you need to do is just focus on the lucky seven.
Mm,
Focus on those seven KPIs. And that's what will
yeah,
help you get your business unstuck,
I love it.
understanding those.
Do you find that people like finding flow state has a bit of a formula for most people where they can, is it stepping physically outside of your business? Is it having a coach of some sort? What tips would you give someone who's like, okay, I've got to find a way to get into this state?
Yeah, I'm somebody who is very much, if there's an area in my life that I can improve to better my quality and my business, I'm going to find a coach and I'm going
Mm,
to have them help me to accelerate this process. Have you
yeah.
read the book Who Not How by Dan Sullivan?
No. Ooh, I need
Oh,
to.
it's a really, literally
Okay.
everybody who's listening to this podcast needs to go to Spotify, listen to the audiobook because in between each chapter, they almost do like a podcast style interview. And it's
Oh, cool.
phenomenal. And it teaches you the importance. I'm not even going to call it delegation because this is not delegation. It is finding the right person to execute on whatever new idea or thing you want to improve in your life. So if
Oh,
you want to improve your flow state, and you're like, I have no idea how to do this. Well, you could just come to Finance and Flow and we'll teach you.
yeah.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you want more directed approach, like find somebody, find a coach who has done that and can help you. So when I'm finding myself getting dysregulated,
Hmm.
what my first thing that I do is just acknowledging the dysregulation. And it's like, okay, I'm hyper vigilant. I have a lot of anxiety right now. I'm not able to make a clear decision. So I need to like take a step back. I need to, for
Wow.
me, it's go outside, getting in nature, putting my feet like literally in the ground on dirt,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
grass,
I love it.
on the beach and do some sort of like energy clearing. So what that could
Hmm.
look like is just some shaking and bouncing. People have seen me skipping down the street and then
Oh
be
my
like,
gosh.
"Oh, you look like you're having so much fun." I was like, "Oh, actually, I have so much anxiety right now. I like need to like get it out of my body, like literally shake it out."
Oh my God, that's so funny. You know what?
So
Actually,
funny.
way back, one of our first episodes, it might have even been, no, I think it was the second episode of Well, we brought on Beth Bishop. And actually, if you're moving to Venice, you've got to go. The Phoenix Effect in LA is her
Ooh,
studio. It's
cool.
awesome. But she talks so much about nervous system and go, anybody listening to this right now, go check out, I think it's episode 2 with Beth Bishop. She gives you a million tips that you can do in like 30 seconds or less on how
Oh,
to get your body back into kind of that state where you're not in flight or freeze. And gosh, she's an amazing woman. Check her out.
oh,
But
I'm gonna go check her out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She's really cool. I love that. So finding a coach, helping you get to, or find those tricks for you because we're human. We're human. And it's
Yeah,
really, we live in a very busy world. And we, as entrepreneurs, there's just this expectation of productivity at every
yeah,
moment. And for
yes,
me, the realization that my productivity is less when I'm not able to nourish myself with a regulated nervous system was the eye opener. Like it's
yeah,
actually crippling me and my business if I sit here in front of my computer panicking with anxiety about something. Like actually the better thing to do is go lay. I'm like you. I like literally go lay down in the grass like a lizard and need to just soak in sunshine.
yes.
Um,
I had a CEO day a couple months ago with one of our clients where I flew out there and spent a day and a half with him. And one of the first things we did, because he was, being a CEO is so stressful. And he was having like a really hard day because of, running a studio was just hard,
right.
right? And so what I did, I was like, okay, you're going to laugh at me, but just follow me. I took him outside, literally we found some dirt in a random uh, flower bed. And I was like,
Yeah.
take your shoes off and stand in this dirt with me. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, just do it.
Do it.
And
I
so
love
we
it.
stood in the dirt in the middle of the parking lot and we just like shook and like bounced around for like 3 minutes.
Yes.
And then he was like, the look on his face when he felt the stress like coming off of his
Yes.
shoulders, he was like, oh my God. I was
I
like,
love
I
it.
know, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, we're not crazy. Actually,
Yeah.
I am willing to bet that if you talk to most hyper successful leaders, they have some
Yeah.
sort of weird ass looking, something they do. Maybe it's
Totally.
arm swings in the morning, or maybe it's breath work where
Mm,
they're doing like
yes.
fire breathing. I don't know, but I would be willing to bet because there's
Mhm.
so much science behind it. We're living in a world with access to the information that tells us, okay, here's what you can do to fix it.
And the most ironic thing is we're in the wellness industry,
I know.
but we're like not taking care of our wellness.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I think it becomes this resentment that a lot of people have towards their
Mhm.
businesses because
Yeah.
they're seeing people come in to get this amazing wellness experience every day and they're feeling as unwell as they ever have. And sometimes that includes financially unwell, right? So
Yeah.
it's all a whole picture. But well, I'm so grateful we've gotten to dive into this. I love asking this question to everybody because I think all of the guests on the show have so much wisdom to share. But if you could, I think of it as the billboard question. If you could put something on a billboard today for everyone in this industry to see, what would it be?
Okay. Another bold statement. Y'all ready?
Mhm.
If your business isn't paying you to live, it's not truly supporting you. And it's time to rework your business.
Goosebumps. Seriously, goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's awesome. If your business isn't paying you to live, guys. So think about that. And truly, like, I don't just throw people on this podcast to fill spots. Like, Lauren is somebody I absolutely trust and I'm so grateful that you're doing the work you're doing in this industry to help people get to a place where they don't have to resent their business. This can be a very profitable business. I
Yes.
actually hate the statement when people say, like, oh, you didn't get into this business to be a millionaire, I'm sure. And I'm like, actually, you can. Stop saying that. That's the limiting
100%.
belief.
Yes.
Like, this is a
Yes.
business that the global wellness industry is skyrocketing right now. There's so
Yes. There's
much
so much
opportunity.
opportunity. I just did a P&L call yesterday with a client,
Hmm.
and she generated in excess of $40,000 in September from 2 studios.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Love
And so,
it.
like, I'm sharing that because I want you all to know, like, it is possible. Your business
Yeah,
can pay you.
yeah.
This particular client, it's such a beautiful story. While, she was working in her career, being a mom, well, obviously she's still a mom, but like doing the toddler
Mm.
phase, the
Yeah,
husband was grinding and making sure that his business was supporting the family. And now that her business is making a little bit more money, he's able to ease up and really figure out what is
mm.
it do I want to do for the rest of my life to make me really happy.
Oh, I
And he
love
started
that.
his own construction company and he's flipping houses and he's so happy and their marriage
Mm.
is so great because they're both so happy. And like
Yeah,
that's just like the power of having a successful business. It just opens up doors for you and your family to have better
yeah,
relationships, to like feel more grounded and support
right.
your kids and also teach your kids on like, hey, this is what it's like to have your own business. And
Yeah,
entrepreneurship is obviously the future. And what a beautiful gift to raise your kids
yep.
in that lens so they know what it's like. So when they're older, they're one step ahead of the game.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that. That is removing a limiting belief right there and
Yeah.
being able to gift this next generation of entrepreneurs a vision, and a very clear example of success. So,
Yeah.
man, well, thank you. That is a perfect way to end this podcast. Where can our listeners find you? What's the best way to get connected? I know you're starting a new finance and flow program soon.
Yeah. So our Instagram is Active Core Consulting. So please follow us there. And we have a webinar coming up on November 10th. And it's all about getting in your financial flow state, how
Ooh,
to create a profitable business. So we will dive deeper into some of the topics we touched on today and give you all a really clear vision of what it is like to be in our Finance and Flow program. So you get both the flow and the strategy of what are the foundational steps I need to take to step into my CEO seat. We're going to
Love it.
remove the noise, remove all the reports, just focus on the very specific actions that you need to take. And you will walk away from this program with the exact roadmap you need to be successful.
I love it. And guys, just kind of quick tip here. The executive dashboards and kind of the data that you'll find in Walla is exactly what feeds the model that they're looking at. So
Yeah.
it's part of the reason we've been able to, work so well together and partner in business is we're learning from the best here, and we want to make sure you have access to not just the million reports that you've always looked at in other platforms, but the clear numbers and be able to measure that against your growth goals. So it'll be a
I'm so
fun
excited
fun
for the
ride.
executive
I know.
dashboards. They're really
It's
sexy.
yeah. I know. Lauren saw them and she was like, "Oh my God,
I was like
this is
almost fell
hot."
off my chair. It was so good.
Oh man. Well, thank you again, guys. We'll see you next time on Well, Well, Well.